Alright, imagine this. Let's say you go into work one day, and then at the end of the day, your boss comes to you and says, "Hey, sorry, there was a glitch in payroll, so you're not going to be getting paid for today." Well, that's the kind of thing you run into being a YouTuber.
And just getting dinged left and right with this piss-colored demonetization sign. They show up on your videos, and that's what it feels like. Pissed. You got pissed on your soul, and now you're pissed, because most of the time it just doesn't make any sense.
This system, in my opinion, is terrible. It's always been terrible, but it's getting more terrible by the day. But I mean, YouTube, if you want to destroy your platform, this is the first step. So, good job.
So there are a lot of social media platforms around the internet, but there's something about YouTube that makes them particularly special, and that's the ability for anyone to be able to monetize their own content on it. So years ago, YouTube realized that they were making all their money off of the videos that were uploaded by users. I mean, obviously that's what YouTube is for people to upload their own videos. So they came up with a way to compensate people who brought more people onto YouTube. However, once money gets introduced to the whole situation, things get a little bit more complicated. So today we're going to take a deep dive into monetization. For the viewers who are just curious to know how the whole thing works, I'll go into detail explaining all that. And for the creators who are looking to maybe improve their monetization methods, I might be able to help with that a little bit later in the video too. So first, let's answer the question, why did YouTube decide to give a share of their revenue to the people uploading on their platform? Well, how do you convince people to create quality content on your site? By paying people to create videos that people want to watch, you're giving them the ability to maybe make a full-time job out of this, which also allows them to put a lot more time and money into their production. So while YouTube is giving away a portion of the revenue brought in by the videos, it's bringing in a lot more viewers because now they have more quality content to watch. So it's really a win-win-win. YouTube gets to bring more people to the site, creators get to be paid for making quality content, and the viewers get something good to watch. Without the option of monetization, we probably wouldn't have a lot of these high-quality channels around the platform. It would likely be a lot more like YouTube of 12 years ago, where it was mostly just home videos that sometimes went viral. So how does a channel get monetized in the first place? Well, in order for a channel to become monetized, it has to be accepted into the YouTube Partner Program, which takes a bit of proving yourself first. In order for a channel to qualify to have ads on it, it needs to have at least 1,000 subscribers and have at least 4,000 hours of watch time within the last year. And once you reach that threshold, you can submit your channel to be reviewed by YouTube, and as long as your channel is nothing that's just blatantly ripping off copyrighted content, or it's very explicit and extremist content, usually they're pretty good about letting most people into the program. So now that you're monetized, how much money are you really going to be making? Well, if you're a very small channel who just barely qualifies for passing the threshold, you just hit 1,000 subscribers, maybe you've collected up 4,000 hours of watch time over the past few months, you are probably not going to be making very much money right at the beginning. The whole 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 hours watch time was only a feature they added in the past couple of years. And a lot of people were really upset when they found out about that because they thought it was just impossible for small creators to make it at this point. But for those of you who've made it past that threshold, you realize that is such a tiny step on the journey of growing on YouTube. And you probably didn't even miss out on much revenue for those 4,000 hours. Usually channels need to be gaining at least a few thousand views per day to start seeing a noticeable amount of revenue. But if you manage to get well known and you start growing your channel a little bit, you start pulling in bigger numbers, you might start to see some real money and you might even be able to go full time with it. You probably wonder what a lot of these big channels make with their millions of views. And in all honesty, there are so many factors that come into play, which is why most people can't really give you a straight answer as to how much money a view is worth. So really, the only people who know how much money these big creators make are they themselves. Nobody from the outside can get a real accurate answer for that. So it goes without saying that the money that you make from YouTube comes from ads. So there's lots of companies out there who will pay to put their ads on YouTube, and if those ads end up on your videos, then you're the one that gets paid for it. And the more ads that people watch or click on your videos, the more you get paid. There's a lot of channels that try desperately to make their videos up to the 10-minute mark, because once you pass the 10-minute mark, you are now allowed to start putting more ads on the videos. For videos less than 10 minutes long, it usually just puts one ad at the very beginning. But when you make longer videos, you can fit a lot more ads into it. But people still have to keep watching the video to see the ads, so don't expect to make an hour-long pointless video, throw 100 ads in there, and expect that you're going to make 100 times the revenue, because nobody's going to watch that. Things can also vary quite a bit depending on the content of the video. You might have noticed that sometimes you'll come across ads on a video that are very related to what they were just talking about in the video, and that's pretty much all done intentionally. You know, YouTube is constantly scanning these videos, telling what type of content is being talked about in the video and, you know, what's the whole subject matter around it. And they will try to attach ads that are the most relevant to the videos. So, you know, people making videos about like finances or real estate and stuff like that, they're usually going to be bringing in a lot higher ad rates than somebody just doing like a gaming channel. But of course, not all ads are specifically for the video type. There's a lot of ads that are more like personalized to the viewer. So like, let's say I put up a video, like 10 different people watching that video could see completely different ads. It usually has something to do with Google has been tracking what you like to look at on the internet, and will give you an ad saying like, here, you probably like this thing, why don't you take a look? And the last major factor that decides how much somebody makes on a video is the rating of the video. So if a video has like too many bad words or sexually suggestive content or anything too controversial or violent or anything like that, the video could get flagged, also known as demonetized. You've probably heard that term quite a bit. So we as creators can't actually see the ratings on our own videos. We can't see like a PG, PG-13 or R rating on our videos or anything. All we see is monetized or demonetized. But if you're really curious as to how much people make off of big videos, I would say, for example, a video that gets 1 million views, there are some types of content that might only pull in maybe a couple $100s for 1 million views. And yet there's other types of videos where if it pulled 1 million views, it could bring in over $10,000. So like I said, it all comes down to the length of the video and how many ads are in it and how many ads people are watching. The subject of the content matter, you know, if advertisers are wanting to advertise on that type of content. And the video rating, because advertisers often don't want to put their ads on really controversial content. Also, I didn't think this would be much of a secret, but I've talked to a bunch of people who didn't know this was the case. When you're watching a video that has mid-rolls in it, the person uploading usually decided where to put those mid-rolls. So if you're watching a 20-minute video that has 15 ads in it, that person might value their revenue more than they value their audience. Now if you're wondering how YouTubers actually get paid, it all works in monthly pay periods. So basically it will count up all of the ads that played on my videos and got clicked on in the month of May, and then it will tell me the total sometime in June, and I will get paid towards the end of June. So we get one paycheck a month, and it's for what we did last month. Also, YouTube takes 45% of the revenue from the ads that ended up on our videos. But that's money you never actually see, so I guess it's not too painful. You really only see the money that ends up in your account. So I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. But considering how inconsistent your ad rates are every day, your view counts are every day, your income is just going to be very different day by day. Like, you can go back and see how much money you made on each day, and it could be like 4 times higher one day than the next. So let's just say this is not the best job for those of you who like steady paychecks or financial security. That's why you see so many YouTubers out there who have Patreons or sell merch or do brand deals. Pretty much any way they can try to stabilize their income a little bit better. Because relying on ad revenue alone can be really unpredictable sometimes. Believe it or not though, demonetization has not always been that big of a deal. Before the adpocalypse of 2017, pretty much any channel could get monetized like right out of the gate. 0 subscribers, no views or anything. You could just start putting ads on your videos right at the beginning. And pretty much any content you wanted to put up could get monetized too. They weren't nearly as strict back then. That's why we talk about how edgy channels have kind of died out on YouTube. Stuff like iDubbbz, Max Mofo, Filthy Frank, Leafy is Here. All the channels that YouTube has basically tried to get rid of because they didn't want any non-family friendly content on the site, we'll call it. So back in 2017, we saw our first adpocalypse. Basically what happened is that a bunch of advertisers started to notice their ads being played on controversial content, and they all said, oh no, I don't want people thinking that I support this stuff, I'm gonna pull all of my ads off of YouTube. But just as like a personal side rant here, I think it was pretty stupid for a lot of these companies to pull their ads from YouTube. Ad space on YouTube is dirt cheap compared to what it would cost to put it on like a TV commercial. And let's be honest, nobody actually cares if they saw your ad on a controversial video. We all know that ads are just kind of distributed across the whole platform. We know you're not actually affiliated with this type of content. So you're not actually doing yourself or anyone else favors by pulling your ads off the platform. Anyways, so after the adpocalypse of 2017, YouTube decided that the best way to recover from the whole thing was to implement this machine learning AI bot thing that scans every video basically, and then determine if this video is appropriate for ads or not, giving it a green sign for being eligible for monetization or a yellow sign for being not suitable for most advertisers. Now, as a viewer, it's not very easy for you to tell if a video is monetized or not. When a video gets the yellow sign and is considered demonetized, it actually says, not suitable for most advertisers. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna have 0 ads ever, so you might actually see ads on a video that's demonetized. However, they're a lot more rare, and the person uploading will get a lot less revenue for the whole thing. So when these advertisers sign up for what's called AdWords with Google, they can decide what type of content they are okay with their ads showing up on. So they can basically fill out this little chart saying, I'm okay with my ads playing on PG content, PG-13, but not mature content. So that's why it's a lot harder for people to make money off of mature content on YouTube. This is why you see so many more like family-friendly type channels all over YouTube now. Hey, you want to get paid? You better not say any bad words, ever. Think of YouTube as kind of an overprotective, smothering parent.
Check it out, Stevie. The T-Rex is 3 feet tall with a movable jaw. Red paint for blood. This is so cool.
I heard screaming.
Yeah, I said this is so cool.
Is that a switchblade?
It's an X-Acto knife to cut the pieces apart. I use it all the time.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll lock this up with the scissors. We'll just give that back when you go home.
So as a creator, you might think to yourself, I got nothing to worry about. I'm not uploading anything that mature. I never swear. I never do anything controversial. I'm just doing my own thing. I'm not worried about getting demonetized. It'll never happen to me. I should be just fine, right? Well, to that I say... Oh boy, finally finished making this video after spending 3 days working on it. Time to upload. Alright, now let's just add a title. Now let's add a description, put some tags in it. Alright, got my custom thumbnail. Everything looks good to go. Oh man, I'm so glad to be done with this. Now I can finally take care of some errands I've been meaning to do. Wait a second. No! Okay, I can get through this. You know, maybe there's something in the description that triggered it. Let's just remove all of that. Now we just have to wait 10 minutes for the bot to rescan my video and make sure that this is okay. Oh, well, it's been 10 minutes and it's still yellow. Alright, now let's try deleting all of the tags. You know, maybe there was something in the tags to cause it to be yellow. Let's just get rid of all of those. Still yellow. Alright, let's delete the title, I guess. Ooh, I finally managed to make it go green. Alright, now let's try a different title. Alright, now let's save that and wait another 10 minutes. And the title is back to yellow. Alright, let's try out a different title, I guess. Yes, I managed to get it go green again. But now that I look at it, this isn't even that great of a title, so maybe I should try and tweak it a little bit. And it's yellow again, of course it is. Alright, let's try changing this word from ruin to sabotage. How silly of me to not realize that having the word ruin in the title caused it to be considered explicit content. I should have known better. Well, I guess now I can go back in and rewrite the description and try to remember all the tags that I had on it. That may have seemed like an exaggeration, but that is almost identical to an experience I've had in the past. And yes, the word ruin in the title will get your video demonetized. So YouTube likes to tell you that your video is inappropriate and not suitable for most advertisers. However, they don't like to tell you what about the video is causing that. So it could be anything from having a bad word in the title, having a bad word somewhere in the description, having a bad word in the tags, which nobody even sees, having a picture in the thumbnail that Google's AI bot scans and decides that is not okay. Any one of these things could trigger the bot, and it really comes down to a guessing game of trial and error until you figure out how to monetize your video. Or even something in the video itself could be causing it, and those are the worst because those are the hardest to change. Once you've gotten your entire video already finished and rendered and uploaded, if you have to go back and change something, that could cost you another hour or two just to make that little change in the video. So the bot is basically scanning everything about the video. All of the dialogue in the video, all of the images that show up in the video, and the thumbnail. And it's looking for any excuse it can get to demonetize your video. Which, by the way, the image detector is no better than the word detector. There are images that are completely harmless that the AI looks at and says, oh no, that's a little too inappropriate. You know, there's a channel called Nerd City who actually did a really good video on this topic.
Google's Vision API, which is widely believed to be the tool that's scanning thumbnails to determine their ad friendliness or not, scans a thumbnail of PewDiePie and sees that as racy. Sees a picture of YouTube's CEO, Susan Wojcicki, as racy, and yet a photo of you-know-who's in a you-know-what group, it thinks it's perfectly fine. That gets a clean bill of health, not violent. And I can't even say the name out loud about what that is because YouTube's clumsy closed caption scanning bot might think that I'm talking about you know what. This technology is fascinating, but it's also fascinatingly bad at its job right now.
Now, I've mentioned this before, but if all that happened when you got demonetized was that your revenue was dropped down a little bit, it wouldn't bother me too much. However, another thing that happens when you get demonetized is that search and discovery for that video gets dropped way down. Meaning your video is not going to be recommended to most people, the views on it are just going to be a fraction of what they normally would be if it was a monetized video. And yeah, pretty much the whole thing was just a big waste of time. Now, the guys over at YouTube have made claims such as, well, the yellow icon doesn't make a video get suppressed. But it's been pretty widely accepted that things that get a video demonetized are the same things that get videos to not show up for most people. But when it comes to videos getting demonetized, there's actually a lot more depth that goes into it. Now, as creators, all we ever see is the green sign or the yellow sign. But there's a lot that goes behind the scenes that we don't actually see. So not everything that can demonetize a video has the same weight to it. If a video gets demonetized because it recognizes something related to like drugs or violence or sexual content, it's much more likely to completely suppress that type of video and not allow most people to see it. But if it's demonetized because, you know, it has some bad words or something, it'll probably still get recommended to people, but like I said, you'll get much lower ad rates on it. But that's why you'll see some videos that are demonetized, but they can still pull an average amount of views on them. But it also means that sometimes you'll come across videos that are monetized, but they still get suppressed. So there's like a bunch of weird games going on behind the scenes that we don't even see. I have a friend who has a video that's age restricted, but it's monetized. So tell me how that makes any sense. But again, it's a lot more complicated than just having certain words in the title and description, because Google hates simplicity. So the AI that detects things, it's starting to get a little bit better at understanding context, but it's still far from perfect. And it still usually comes down to a guessing game on the uploader's part. But for whatever reason, YouTube apparently doesn't want us to know what we're allowed to be posting. They'd rather just give us very vague claims of what's okay and what's not, and then trust a completely broken bot to enforce that doesn't know anything. However, there is a bit of a silver lining on this horribly clumsy automation that scans all these videos. Notice this button where it says Request Manual Review. This is where you can have somebody at YouTube take a look at your video, you know, check out the title and everything, they might watch part of the video, and then make the decision manually if it's actually okay for advertisers. And they're usually pretty good about making things go from yellow to green. I heard a while back that YouTube hired like 10,000 people for this exact position just to review videos. My question is, why don't you just try and improve the bot so it's not flagging so many videos in the first place? You're just wasting so much time and money. So having somebody manually review your video can usually be pretty good about getting your video go from yellow to green. However, it's not a tool I would recommend using that often. I usually work on trying to make the video go green by myself before I just give up and hand it over to YouTube to review it. Usually if I've been working at it for 2 hours and I still can't figure it out, that's when I give up and send it over to YouTube. And like I was saying in that little skit I had, it takes a good 5 to 10 minutes every time you make a change for it to like re-scan something and figure out if it's monetizable or not. So it can be really tedious. Sometimes you just have to change one little thing, sit for 10 minutes, say, okay, it's still yellow, I guess I'll try and change another thing. And then sit for 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, now it's green, but now I don't know what else I can add. But if you can make it go green on your own, it's a lot better than requesting manual review. And the main reason for that is because if you actually submit a request for a manual review, it can take them a little while to actually get to it. I mean, sometimes you can just publish the video while it's yellow, let it sit with a request for manual review on it. I've had them fix it within 15 minutes before. However, I've had other times where it took like a day for them to review it. And by the time they actually do go review it, it's already received the bulk of its views that it's going to get, so all of the money you were supposed to make off of that is just gone because, well, whoops, I guess we didn't realize that it was supposed to be monetized. You know, I think it all just depends on how many videos are in the queue at a time. You know, if they've only got a few thousand people trying to review the millions of videos being requested all the time, you might be waiting in line for a little while. You know, when you make a request for a manual review, it will tell you, like, hey, we'll usually only get to this if it has at least 1,000 views within the last week. And if you have over 10,000 subscribers, we'll give you priority and we can review them without it even being published. Well, honestly, I have not noticed any difference since I hit 10,000 subscribers. It is just as slow, and I've never had it reviewed while it was still private. And as for the 1,000 views thing, I've had my videos reviewed before they hit 1,000 views, but even if they were like actually set on the 1,000 view thing, that's like another terrible thing you have to overcome. Because remember how I said, if you upload a video that's yellow in the beginning, it's gonna get suppressed. So hitting that first 1,000 views can be a lot harder than usual. So that's why I usually don't go after the manual review process, because you're usually going to lose a lot of money doing that way. But apparently even people like PewDiePie or MrBeast have to deal with this kind of thing too. I mean, I've lost a few hundred, maybe over $1,000 due to this clumsy system, but these guys' losses have got to be in the millions. Alright, imagine this. Let's say you go into work one day, you show up early, you're working hard, you work a full 12-hour day, and then at the end of the day, your boss comes to you and says, "Hey, sorry, there was a glitch in payroll, so you're not going to be getting paid for today. Also, you're not allowed to talk to HR or anybody else, and we're not going to fix this. You're just going to have to deal with it. And this is probably going to happen at least a few times a month." Man, you'd probably want to burn the place to the ground if that happened. Well, that's the kind of thing you run into being a YouTuber. You put in a ton of effort into a video, you could work on it for hours, if not days, if not months. And because some self-learning bot couldn't figure out that your video was actually fine, well, sorry, you're just not going to get paid for it. It does seem like the outcry has really died down over the years. There were a lot more people talking about this in 2017 and 2018, but most people have kind of gone quiet about the whole thing. I don't think it's because the system has gotten any better. I think people have just become more used to it. But when the adpocalypse happened, that was a mix of people not knowing how to make appropriate content, but also all of the advertisers had pulled their ads out of YouTube, so there were very few ads to actually go around. So the few people who did manage to get monetized probably weren't making anywhere near what they were hoping to make. So hopefully we don't run into anything that major again. But I think we creators can really benefit each other by just helping each other out. Let everybody know what rules you figured out or what will demonetize you, stuff like that. But there was another recent problem that just came up called the Vox adpocalypse. Now I don't want to go into too much detail about the whole thing, but there have been a lot of political YouTubers who have been getting their entire channel demonetized. And there's a lot of talk about YouTube having double standards and demonetizing some people for one thing but not others for the same thing. And I think things are just going to keep getting uglier on the platform if YouTube keeps caving to stuff like this. Well, I have one more major point to get to, and then I'm going to try and suggest some solutions to this whole problem. The last major issue that makes YouTube monetization such a train wreck is the broken copyright system. Now this is an issue that's a little bit more complicated to deal with. So YouTube has what's called a content ID, which can basically allow people to claim ownership of things that they own on YouTube. This is what stops people from using popular music in their videos. So if you try to put Despacito in your video, it's going to immediately detect that it's in there. And they are either going to block your video or claim all the ad revenue that the video generates. Even if it's only in a very small portion of the video. You could even have a 20-minute video where there's some music faintly playing in the background for just a few seconds in the video. Well, whoever owns that music can just come in, claim the video, and take all of the ad revenue for the video. I mean, as the video creator, you did 99.9% of the work to make it, but those guys that have that 0.1% of the video, those are the people that get to take 100% of the revenue. So even if certain content isn't automatically detected in a video, people can go in and manually claim content. It's even gotten so bad that these major music companies like UMG and Sony have even been hiring poachers to go around and just watch a whole bunch of big YouTube videos and try and find anything that could be considered stolen content. You probably heard about the story of MrBeast once had a video where he just hummed a song for a few seconds. And I think it was UMG that claimed him on the song that he was humming. I think that shows just how ridiculous the whole thing has gotten. I mean, these massive music companies have so much power than any YouTuber ever could hope to have. So they just see some kid in his 20s making millions off of being an entertainer, and they basically see him as a perfect target to rob, and the YouTube platform basically just allows them to do it and get away with it. Now, there's a few ways for people to refute the claims made against them, but it rarely turns out well for you. Basically what you have to do is go to the people that claimed your video and ask them to release the claim, which why would they? They get to keep stealing your money and get away with it, so why would they just stop because you asked them to? I mean, this is a pretty major issue that's been going around the site. You've probably heard people like H3 or PewDiePie or MrBeast talking about it, because there's a lot of big companies that just see YouTubers as easy targets to steal all their money. I mean, I know YouTube has an obligation to prevent people from monetizing other people's content, because if everyone was just allowed to go onto YouTube and post every TV show, movie, song that they wanted on there, then YouTube would just get sued to death. So I understand they have to prevent people from posting stuff like that in some way or another. But I definitely think something could be done about that. Now, I personally have not dealt with any of these major copyright claims. They usually only go after the biggest channels anyway. But there's another way that some YouTubers kind of use this to attack each other. So YouTube is full of a lot of commentary channels. There's a lot of YouTube channels who like to call out other YouTube channels or make fun of each other. You know, call somebody out for something terrible they did. I mean, that's just kind of part of the YouTube community at this point. But then you have these channels that get a little too upset when somebody else calls them out or makes a video about them, so they decide to go ahead and be like, oh, well, they put some of my content in their video, that means I can claim their whole video and get the whole thing taken down, or just steal their money. I mean, people like Onision or Lele Pons or Sniper Wolf are just a few examples of those who've given out false claims against people. You know, I personally wouldn't even mind if YouTube came together and created sort of a blacklist of creators that do this kind of crap, so people who do this thing can actually get called out for it. But yeah, the whole commentary thing can get pretty messy. I know Repzion is like trying to sue Onision for blocking a bunch of his videos and claiming a bunch of his videos, and like a lot of it falls under fair use, but it's all getting claimed, and the whole thing is just becoming such a mess all over the platform. So that is the train wreck that is YouTube monetization right now. But I wanted to throw some of my own ideas of how it could be improved, and I'd like to hear some of your guys' input as well. So with the demonetization issue, I think one of the biggest problems is that most videos are seen as guilty until proven innocent. You know, when yellow videos are manually reviewed, I'm pretty sure over 90% of them actually get approved for monetization. I feel like it would be a lot better if we had a system where every video was initially monetized, but if it happened to get reported a lot and then reviewed, then it would get demonetized manually. And then if you had a certain channel that kept getting demonetized very frequently, then maybe then you could throw this backward system onto them, and then they would have to get every video approved for monetization out of the gate. Because it just seems like such a big waste of time that we have all of these videos that are falsely being flagged as demonetized. But then after reviewing them, they always realize, oh, okay, yeah, they're actually okay then. And let's say that some content is a little more controversial or edgy than others. I don't see why we can't have ads on that type of content. I mean, on TV you have like Comedy Central or Adult Swim, you know, stuff pretty much just as bad as most things have ever been on YouTube. And yet there's plenty of commercials on them. They have no problem getting monetized. You know, some brands actually prefer going after stuff like that. It just seems like YouTube is aiming for specifically only general audience and kids content. And if we keep aiming in that direction, I feel like YouTube in the end is just going to turn into YouTube Kids, and that's going to be it. I mean, it is kind of weird that we have like everything from kids content to adult content all sharing this one website. But yeah, it seems like YouTube is pretty good at actually distinguishing what is okay for kids, as they have the entire YouTube Kids app. So why can't they put together and distinguish sort of a YouTube Adults section? Like when people go onto YouTube, there should be some sort of drop-down menu or something where you could say, I'm okay seeing anything G-rated, PG, PG-13, or R-rated, and just check all the boxes that you're okay to see. That way I feel like you could have the whole edgy side of YouTube that existed back in 2016 without it kind of corrupting the image that YouTube is trying so hard to protect. You know, I think it would be good if we kind of broke YouTube down into like different rating systems and actually allow people to see the ratings on each video. It just seems like YouTube is trying so hard to tell everyone, okay, PG content is good, that's what we want. Anything PG-13 and mature is forbidden. We don't want anything like that on the platform anymore. So like I mentioned, advertisers have the ability to decide what type of content they're okay to place their ads on, so why not just sort of break YouTube down into separate categories, and then basically have a different set of rules for like, if you're trying to make kids content, of course you have to have a lot stricter rules. But if you're making like adult content, then you have less strict rules. But you shouldn't be punished by like having all of your ad revenue removed if you're trying to make anything that is slightly mature. So if advertisers can decide where they want their content to be seen, why can't viewers have the ability to decide what they want to see?
I don't understand why YouTube treat everyone on YouTube like they're a child. That's not the case anymore. Why are kids the only thing, or family-friendly content? Are those the only people that spend money? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
You know, if YouTube is so concerned about people seeing content that they don't want to see, why not just allow people to decide for themselves what they want or don't want to see, rather than just blocking everything they might not want to see?
Hope everybody likes brownies.
Oh my, that is so thoughtful. Are those nuts?
Walnuts.
Oh, gee, we can't have that. Some of the children are severely allergic to nuts.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Whose child is allergic?
Well, no one in this class specifically, but you can never be too careful.
And as for solving the whole copyright issue, I think it should be that if you want to make a manual claim against somebody, that should have to be manually approved. It shouldn't be allowed that anybody can just go throw a claim up against someone and then automatically start taking their money from them. And then as for like the automatic detection, it's kind of hard to say. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to say that like, if a song shows up in 2% of the video, then it can claim 2% of the revenue. But on the other hand, if it shows up for 2% of the video, it should not take up 100% of the revenue either. Maybe they just need to add something in the Creator Studio that is a lot more efficient at removing copyrighted content. That way we can just cut that part out of the video completely and not have to deal with the whole copyright issue so much. And finally, I just wish that YouTube would just tell its creators what we are and are not allowed to do on the platform. You know, give us the benefit of the doubt before just demonetizing everything that might be considered PG-13. I know you've given a lot of very vague rules, like don't put anything violent or sexually explicit or drug use related, but honestly, most videos that get flagged don't have anything to do with any of those things, so the bot definitely needs some improvements. I mean, I can understand them wanting to keep like the SEO algorithm a secret, because you don't want people like taking advantage and cheating the whole system so that they can rank higher than everybody else. But at least let us know how to stay monetized. I don't think it's too much to ask that we actually know how to earn our income. But that does it for this episode of YouTube Analyzed. What do you guys think of all of this? Does this make you want to start a career on YouTube? Does this scare you away from wanting to start on YouTube? I honestly got scared away of starting YouTube a few years ago during the whole adpocalypse when everyone was talking about it. But I'm glad I eventually got over that and decided to start because I really enjoy YouTube regardless of how much crap it puts me through.